This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography. Welcome to this episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast, coming to you from Legacy Podcast Studios in Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Audra Adams.
And I'm Lamar Powell.
And today we welcome to our studio Susan Campbell of South 23rd. And she has a lot of cool things to say, so let's get into it.
Well, welcome, Susan. I'm glad you're a part of our podcast today. For a lot of reasons. One is you are a female entrepreneur, which I think is incredible. And I got to thinking about that quite a bit, how many women that I know that do that. And my wife's one of them, and I'm amazed at your talent and what you've created. And then your business is interesting, what you provide. I can't wait to talk about that today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be here.
We are thrilled to have you. So actually, I'll go back to when I started hearing about your business. I was actually at the Women in Business conference in Kernersville that the Chamber puts on. And our viewers and listeners might get so tired of us hearing, saying, "Hey, join the chamber." And you can join multiple chambers. That's the other thing. But definitely in Kernersville, we have a great chamber, and they put on a wonderful women's conference. And every table was decorated, and then certain people won everything that was on the table, and you did one of those tables. And so, tell me a little bit about that, because this is the first time that I saw what you did, and you got up and explained.
Yes. So I created something called a Porch Pop, and it came from a personal need, honestly. That's where some of our inventions come from. It's where we have some kind of problem, and then we go and solve it. So I can give you a quick story.
I would love it.
So I would buy all of these great plants every season, come fall, come spring, and they come in some landscaping pots, and some of them are branded, some of them are not, but they were not intended to be used on your porch. Some are pink, some are green, some are brown and black. Blech. So
I love that.
So I had full intentions of replanting these into pots, but I got home and I was missing one of the elements, dirt or a pot, or it wasn't the look that I was looking to achieve. So, but my husband came in one day. I was trying to hurry up. We had some guests that were coming over, and he came and I was cleaning, and we were expecting them any minute, and he ran in and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing with all these plants out front?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to plant them." And he's like, "Oh, no, they're coming in 10 minutes, Susan. There's no way. We don't have time for this." And I said, "Oh, I can." He goes, "When are you planning on doing it?" I could do it really quick. And he's, "No, they're going in the garage." So off they went to the garage, and no one got to see them. And they were pretty. You take time walking through your nursery or the farmer's market or even the home improvement center, and you find these beautiful plants, and you're so excited about them. And I really felt like I missed right there because I wasn't able to do that. Now, in hindsight, if I had had something like a Porch Pop, I would have been able to just place my pre-potted plant directly in it, and it would have looked like a high-end pot. But really, this idea came from a magazine I love to decorate, and I'm always looking at my home decor magazines. And I was flipping through this magazine one day, and I happened to notice this family. They were being interviewed. They had just remodeled this home, and it was absolutely beautiful. They were adorable. But what caught my eye was the photographer had staged these boxwoods on the front sidewalk. Mm-hmm. And they had wrapped burlap. It was beautiful how they had done it. They had tucked it in and put a beautiful string around it. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, that's nothing new. Florists have done it for years. People that have tried to just cover up their ugly pots didn't have time. And then I started thinking about how we take the time to decorate the inside of our homes with all of the detail. We pick out the pictures, the fabric, the pillows. Why couldn't we do something like that outside. And one thing led to another. And I give all of this idea and everything to God because it hit me like that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think anything exists quite like this. So that's really the goal, is to have an upscale look with fabric that would look like you are extending your outdoors, your living space, because we're in the South. We like to live outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it's just a creative element that seamlessly blends into your decor, and then you can display your beautiful plants that you spent all this time, like you said, going and picking out and really caring for a lot of them, watering them and doing all that. And so we're going to show the product here in a little bit, but before we do, so that's how the idea was sparked. But I want to go back a little bit because that's what we do.
That's
here.
what we do.
That's just what we do here.
Yes.
So, what was your profession, or did you have a profession before this?
Right. So I had been a stay-at-home mom for years.
Perfect.
I was very fortunate. My husband he was in the auto industry, and then he went into the cycling industry, and then he's in tech. He's in the tech industry now, working with connectors and sensors. But I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home with our children when they were young, and then I worked my way into the school system. I was an instructional assistant for 6 years. I make a joke. I started in 5th grade, and by the time it was over with, I ended up in kindergarten. So some of my best friends are under 3 feet. So just really sweet. But then after that, I went into a sales kind of form. I sold multiple things. I sold signage, big electronic commercial signage. I sold health and life. I sold HVAC systems. But my last sales opportunity, because we moved all over the country.
Well, I read something about that. You moved how many times?
So we moved from, we started out in Richmond, Indiana. Then we moved to El Paso, Texas. Then we went to South Lyon, Michigan. Then we moved to Carmel, Indiana. And then we've been here in Greensboro, Kernersville, 11 years.
Okay. And your husband at least did do a lot of overseas, or some overseas traveling?
No. Oh, well, he travels a lot, yes. But, with his work.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which is good for me because I get to tag along on some of these trips. It's a fun time.
That is fun. Well, number one, I have thought stay-at-home mom is one of the most sacred jobs I think anybody can have. And if you're fortunate to be able to have that in this economy and in yourself, and that's what you're called to do for that time being. I was fortunate to be able to stay at home for most of my children's, younger years, which is amazing. But anyway, the second thing that I was going to mention is to transition into an IA in the school system. My daughter is a teacher, and school started this last, week or two, and she was speaking to me, and she was like, I have the best IA. It's just made the biggest difference. So you went from making a difference in your home to, I know that you're making a difference in other children's lives as well. I think that's a very, and I wonder what you think psychologically when you stay at home. How many children did you have?
I have 2.
You have 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I would dare say they're not the same, as far as they didn't think the same, they didn't learn the same.
No, they're very different.
Yeah. So I feel like as mothers, we had to adjust the way that we communicated with our children based on each child.
Yes.
And
I
I really feel like that prepared me to be in business, to be in, just in interpersonal relationships, because you find out really quickly how people learn, because you've been kind of prepared for that. So you did that, and now you went to IA, and then how did that transition to the sales industry?
Well, it didn't take me long to figure out that once my kids were out of the school, that I couldn't follow them. My husband looked at me and said, "You know that when they leave elementary, you cannot go with them." And I'm, well, okay, fine. And I knew, I had been there for 6 years. It was a great time, but I was looking to do something. I had a lot of friends that were telling me, "You should go back, get your certification." But I thought I'd do something a little different. So I went into sales. My degree was in English. So it was not something technical like an engineering degree, but it was something that allowed me to be able to communicate, obviously. So the sales opportunity felt very, very comfortable for me. I really love talking to people. I love being around people and sharing and communicating. So that was good. The interesting thing is when I got back to, when we moved here in North Carolina, to North Carolina, I was looking for an opportunity. I knew that our son was getting ready to go into his senior year in high school, and he was going to need some space. So I said, I need to get a job. So I became an optician, and I learned a whole nother world. And I did that for almost 7 years. And
Wow.
when I was phasing out of that, realizing that you could try something, I really was fortunate. I had that luxury to try these things. And I was getting ready to go into executive coaching, which really taught me how to communicate with people. So when I was standing there, I was surrounded by people that were looking to really launch a huge executive coaching business. And I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it, but right about the time that I got this idea, I went ahead, took my class, but this was my passion. So this is where it's been since May of 22 was when it came to me.
Okay. I mean, that's not that long ago to make the traction that we're seeing. Right. You've really been working hard.
I put my head down.
Yeah. Absolutely, you have.
It was a challenge because I didn't know what to do. And, the saying of you don't know what you don't know, that couldn't be more true. You just don't know. And I had to lean on a lot of really nice people. If I called them, they would say, I can't help you, but I think I know somebody who might. They pass my name along or pass a name along. And one thing led to another. I found a rapid prototype producer. And then I got into a manufacturer that had low MOQs. And
I read about that. Was that the one in Mexico, first of all?
Yeah, the one in Mexico. So when I was learning about how to handle manufacturing, now I need to back up a little bit because my husband has been in manufacturing his entire career. So I did have a little bit of help. Mm-hmm. He was able to give me a little bit of guidance, but not to start from scratch, really. And so he knew that I was going to need to get my pricing down because it's tricky. But I really, I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. And I was constantly looking for a fabric that was going to fit my application. I had things in my mind that I needed this to do. I wanted it to look like this and feel like this and have this, achieve this. And so when I was looking for fabrics, sometimes people would send me fabrics and they may work, they may not work. Was it the aesthetics that I wanted? Did it achieve everything that I was looking for? And I was really mimicking all these home decor magazines, the Veranda, the Front Gate Ballards, Grandin Road. Those looks are what I love. And so I did find a manufacturer that had a warehouse in El Paso. So honestly, that might have been a little bit of false security on my part because I knew El Paso. Mm-hmm. We lived there for 5 years. My husband worked in the Maquilas, and so he traveled across the border every day. And so he speaks fluently.
I read that he
speaks fluently, and he had a design team down there. But what happened was I got all my information to this lady. She was super sweet. We had a phone call. She spoke great English, but her plant was about 2.5 to 3 hours in the interior of Mexico. And it was not a city. It was a plant in the desert. And David looked at me and he said, You do realize we're probably never going to go look at this manufacturing facility. You have to know that going into this. And I said, okay, well, if the product comes back and it's great, then I'm in. So she took my fabric, she took my plans, my drawings that the rapid prototype crowd made for me, which we're still working with them. It's Tasuga Canopies out of Boone, and they're great.
Oh.
They cut my inserts. So they took all the drawings, and she was able to make the prototype. As soon as it came in, I reached out to her, and she wrote me back, and she said, I am so sorry. We've had to close our company. It's a family business. We've had it for over 20 years. We've had some last-minute things happen. And I never really pressed, but she leaned on her faith. She said that God was going to take care of them, and I said, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
And so there I was ready to go, and then I needed to stop. So I thought, well, we'll see if we can find another manufacturer. So we reached out to a manufacturer that was in San Diego, Tijuana.
Let me stop you right there. So for our listeners and viewers who don't know how to access a manufacturer, say they have an idea like you're having, is there an easy way without knowing that world to kind of research that world? Or
So-
do you know that?
Well, I was muscling through myself, honestly. So Googling, I had the opportunity, not to veer off on another tangent, but I had the opportunity to go to Atlanta to do some recon to see what I was getting into. And I happened to meet Jennifer Couch, and she's with Hollyball. She's one of the 3 ladies that created Hollyball. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not.
It's an inflatable ornament, and it's way fun.
Oh, wait, no, I've
yes,
seen them.
yes, they're so great.
And they're like metallic. I mean,
They could be anything. Yes, but they look really cool. So she and I think her cousins created that. But I struck up a conversation with her, and she was telling me about her manufacturers and how she found them. And it's really doing a lot of Googling, honestly. I know
a lot
that
of
sounds weird.
Googling and probably a lot of phone calls and in-person just question asking. And I stop right there to let our viewers and our listeners know that is such a key, important step in the process that you're talking about, even in entrepreneurship, whether that's who you market, who to market for you, what your market is, all the way around. I feel like that applies all the way around.
Absolutely. The questions, I was constantly calling someone and saying, can you do this? Can you help me with this? Do you know about this? And they would say, I can't help you, but here's somebody, right? So
You're a detective.
You feel a little frustrated, though, because it's your top priority. It's all you think about, but it's not all they think about. And my husband had to calm me down sometimes. He'd say, Susan, these folks have businesses. You are not even a product yet. You need to just be patient, and patience, and everything is in its own time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the second manufacturer, I sent it to Tijuana. And they came back, and I said, this is great. Let's do it. What are my numbers? And he was really difficult to get in touch with. He was really tricky. And finally, everything revealed itself. He got on the phone. We were on a speaker phone call. I was having trouble because of his dialect. I was having a hard time. He was speaking Spanish and then some English. And my husband was able to speak to him. And finally, he divulged that my real concern is that she doesn't speak Spanish, and my team is going to have questions. And my husband said, oh, no, I'll be on all the calls. But I really couldn't lean on that because he's full-time, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do this. So we walked away from that opportunity. And as it would happen, I found a manufacturer here in Asheboro, North Carolina, who professionally sews my product. So it's all made in North Carolina.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
pride.
they have been great.
So I'm going to, you brought us some gifts.
Oh, I did.
So I want to just show, I want to open our gifts. We didn't open them yet. So here, I'm going to get them right now. We're still live. I don't know which one this is, but here. Isn't she so sweet? Just for the record, we love gifts. We didn't know we did till today.
Gifts.
But Susan,
Yes.
yeah,
And samples.
and samples. Susan just is bringing it in clutch.
Yes.
Okay, let me see this. All right, so this is. Okay.
Okay, so what you're seeing there is a porch pop. And I call it a porch pop because it makes your porch pop,
I'm
right?
gonna do-
Looks very
yes.
different. So they come in 2 different prints and 3 different sizes. And what I've given you here is a 10.5 inch, and it's designed to fit a pot with a diameter of 10.5 inches.
Okay.
So,
I want you to
again,
see the
through a
fit.
pain point, I love Costco, and no, they are not paying me to endorse them, but I love
They
them.
should.
And
love them
they
too.
have the best mums in the fall, but they come in a pot that I'm not a huge fan of. I'll
Yeah.
just say that. And so,
Well, they're not endorsing you, so you can say whatever you like
right.
to. Yet,
So
they
these are
might.
made for outdoor use, and you're doing it, Lamar. You just keep on opening it. And so the 13.5 inch was designed for that big Costco mom.
Okay.
This 10.5 inch was designed for the Costco poinsettia. And I have to tell you, it's absolutely stunning with the black and white and the deep red.
Ooh,
So,
yeah.
Go ahead and open those up. Those are supports. These are the supports that come out of Boone.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Oh.
funny because last week I had a very interesting conversation where they were asking me if I was ready for a pallet. So feeling like I'm growing, I'm not ready. I live in all of this is packed in my basement. It's an unfinished basement.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a support. Keep
Okay.
opening this up a little bit. You keep opening it.
Show me.
So open this up,
Oh, I thought it.
and you'll see that there is a different color thread right here.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you'll flip it upside down, there you go. So it's supposed to be arrow up.
Arrow up.
There you go. It goes through that, and then it
Okay.
snaps into place.
There it does. It's so
So-
easy. I'm not even looking. I can't even see the bottom. I hit the mic. I'm sorry, Daniel. Well, I always have to tell Daniel something when we're on here.
So this is patent pending because of the support system.
Okay.
Oh. So how
This needs
did?
to open up a little bit more.
Let me go
I
here.
got you.
It's
Okay.
a lot easier when a microphone is not in front of you. FYI. Yeah, there it goes.
Oh, and then there's a slot.
There's a slot down there.
Yeah. I don't know if we can show. I mean,
So this is
we'll
designed to
get some
have.
pictures. Do you want to get some pictures later, just to kind of show how this is so neat? Like, or do you want me to
So
show
I
the
like
camera?
the stitching, the different in stitching to let you know where
Exactly
to insert
where to put it. Yes, sir.
And then on the insert, it's also labeled or marked
Yep.
up, and then the slot.
if I could-
you go into the
Lots of
Go
slot.
ahead.
iterations.
So that probably took quite a bit of effort and work to figure out.
It was funny.
these
It was
details.
really kind of crazy, all the things. So our son has a 3D printer, and we looked at things that would allow us to have a buttonhole to hook over the side of the pod. We considered doing different things. Do you remember the little slow down guys? They're made out of coroplast, and you put them in a
Yes,
yard.
yes.
Okay. Well, I needed some coroplast. That was my original thought, and I made it so it had 4 sides and would go up and touch all 4 sides. But then I couldn't get it to work. I had to chop up one of those little guys because I couldn't find the coroplast at Walmart one night when I was like, I've got to. You see it in your mind and
Yes.
you know what you want. So the funny thing was, I was at Piedmont Plastic looking for plastics. And they're the ones that supply me with my plastic. And they had a piece, and they had something called a live hinge, and that's the ones that move. So
Right.
I was standing there talking to them, and it was stressed, and it broke. And their eyes were all, oh my gosh,
no.
I'm so glad that happened in your hands and not ours, because I had it cut, so it looked like it had wings. You with me? And so when I
I'm
lifted
totally
it
with
up,
you.
it snapped off, and they were very frantic and panicked. And I said, "Don't you understand? This was a Reese's moment. We just figured out how to do this. This is going to be so much better. And they were like, oh, okay, well, that's great. We're happy for you.
Yeah, and I want to say, even though it's fabric, I mean, obviously it's keeping its shape all by itself right here. And it also comes with instructions very clear of what to do right here. So I'm doing this. There's also, and maybe we'll get there, there's a QR code right here. And this is, it says decorator tip for professional finish, cover visible soil with Spanish moss, and that's not included, intended for outdoor and decorative use only. Now, will either one of these fit the plant that you bought? Let's see it.
Okay. So, this should fit right in there.
Look at that. You'll have to go wide. Daniel, tell me where you need this. We're good. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. That's
That
amazing.
just changed everything about this.
It's a totally different look, and it gives you that upscale look.
Yeah.
So these prints were inspired by my magazines, of course, and there are some high-end magazines that have this. This was such a popular print, even this summer. Do we need to move this?
Yeah, we probably need to move this now.
This was such a popular print for this summer.
Well, yeah, because it can take on a more nautical type of theme, I see.
It looks
there.
kind of like North Carolina to me. It feels that way. It's kind of
Really?
Yeah.
It's tell me how. I need to know your thought process.
I don't know. At beach, I'm thinking about the beach.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of lighthouses.
Yeah, lighthouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it wasn't necessarily intended just for nautical looks, but it was something that resembled what I had seen in other magazines. So that's why I went with that piece.
And
Something
it's
about
clean
this
lines.
piece, it is made with polyester and it has PVC on the inside. So if you have a pot that's a little too short, you can take your inserts out and cuff it, and it allows you to use it that way too. Because
Oh.
sometimes your pots are a little shorter. There's no way to know
Right.
until you get it. But if I'd had these that day when all of those folks were coming over, you saw how fast that was.
Yeah.
It's instant. And then at the end of the season, you can fold it up. I can't tell you how many pots I had in my basement. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So so I have questions. So how is it just, what was in your head that said, I want to also go down the road of patents? I
So,
don't-
strangely enough, it really wasn't about. It was more to protect myself. That if someone else were to see it and get that idea, I didn't want to be told I couldn't do it. So it wasn't about having the patent as much as it was someone telling me that I couldn't do it because they had patented. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it protects an idea that you came up with. And I mean, you've described the work that's gone into trying to figure all of this out. And it's a lot of effort and a lot of work.
It's a lot of effort for it to look effortless.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what makes a great product because it looks effortless.
Yeah.
But there is it's a challenge to get to that finished product where you're satisfied with it, and then all the moving parts work. So yeah, and then to protect that, because we do live. People aren't always honest, and I'm sure they're looking for the next great idea. So to protect that, I think is a great thing.
Well, and then again, to that point, I knew that if someone would mimic it, which is very likely, all things get mimicked. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
there's lots of businesses that do that. If it were, I knew that I had a window of time to get this out and introduce it to the public. It is a new market. There's nothing quite like this. There are things on Etsy, but they are nothing that is a high-end looking fabric. So that was my vision.
So, okay, so you have the fabrics. First of all, that is also something I'm interested in, how you sourced the fabric. Like, did you just go to Joann's and just, is that where you started?
I have I have this notebook, and I took notes, because I didn't trust my memory. But I'll be honest with you, I came across this fabric online, and I ordered a sample of it, and then I ordered a yard or two of it, and I started to mess around with it. I had it in my head. The first one that I made was in a pillowcase because I had it in my head how I wanted it to look, and wasn't quite like that. It wasn't until I got into my prototype team that really helped me develop, and because they
Bring
could
it
sew.
to life.
They can sew. I could not sew. I ordered a sewing machine on Amazon and tried to teach myself to sew. And it wasn't very long after I got my sewing machine that my grandmother broke down her apartment and she gave me a serger. I had to go find a class for that. It was serviced and took the class for a serger. I mean, you should have seen the manufacturer when I brought it in and I put it on there. They were like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Well, watch this." So they have been amazing. And so there is a class called Sewn Goods, and it's run by some of the textile groups. And they told me this is the thing. If you have the drive, and Lamar, you can attest, that if you have the drive and you have the interest, you're not going to wait. There's no one that can stop you. You're on your way. You are excited and you're driven, and you're going to have the grit to keep on going. So initially, people were telling me, "Oh, well, there's an accelerator, an incubator class. You could check that out, and it's through this program, that program." And early into this, they were telling me that I needed to take this Sewn Goods class, and it would teach you how to have a conversation with your manufacturer, what these terms mean. And I kept thinking, I don't need that. Well, I needed it. And I went to it, and it was a great resource. And I think that you can never have too many friends, especially this is a small community. As you know, photographers are small communities. Entrepreneurs are small communities. And you're always going to make a turn, and you're going to find somebody who can go, "Oh, well, that happened to me. This is how it worked out. This is what I did."
Yeah, we've heard that a lot at this table with the entrepreneurs we've had in. Express the importance of the network and other people helping out of the kindness of their heart, maybe referring a supplier or this is a better way to do that, or look at this product and it will help you as a better quality product, maybe a better price. And so that's been expressed around this table quite a bit, and that's important for an entrepreneur.
So, but you asked how I found that fabric. I don't remember how I came across it. I Googled, and it looked like something that might be of interest. It was really the pattern that drew me to it. And then when I received it, it really did kind of fall into place. So, but I've had some really exciting moments. Last year, I was at the Junior League Raleigh Shopping Spree show, and there was a rep that came through from Sunbrella and said, "You really need to be in our product." But honestly, right now, I'm not in a position to do their minimum orders yet. But that's something that might be discovery conversations later on. That would be really great.
When you first started the concept and everything, where did you imagine that you would sell the product? I mean, what was your vision of where it would be sold and how it would be sold to get it to consumers?
Initially, I was hoping to go on to QVC.
Okay.
That was my wish. But then I met the lady at the last year's Kernersville Women's Conference.
Wait, at the car?
Yes. Were you there?
I was there.
Oh, I missed you. I didn't know. Well, I came in late. And Jenny from Jenny's Pickles, Miss Jenny's Pickles.
Oh, yeah. I loved her. Yeah.
I made a point to connect with her, and she had a connection with QVC. I learned more about wholesale pricing. And because I'm stateside, I am not in an opportunity to sell wholesale just yet. So that kind of shot that down. Gotcha. So right now, I'm just doing word of mouth, direct to consumer, playing with some ideas. And I did just recently get into an accelerator program. It's called the Velocity Program, and it's through Center for Creative Economy, and it's in Winston. And they are going to teach me how to scale and how to work on marketing and budgeting and all the things that are just as important as your idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, not just an idea.
No, this is
ever learning, growing. Yeah.
And that's why I love sitting and talking to entrepreneurs that have pushed through there and done their businesses. There are so many people that just, it's just interesting to me. You find something, you connect.
You do. Now, do you have a vision of different lines and patterns and different things that you could potentially do? And are you sourcing those fabrics the same way? Those are just things off the top of my head.
I'm a little girl still, a little guy. So we celebrated a year, August 5th. First sale was August 5th,
Wow.
2023. So we just did that, and that was a pretty big milestone. I've been listening. That was one of the thoughts. I had customers coming through, and they would say, well, what other colors do you have? And because it was such a new thing and I needed to start small and I want to grow this organically, one of the things that I was thinking is I would offer something for a limited time. So right now we have in production a red and white stripe. It will be offered only for November and December.
Oh, wow.
But once it's gone, it's gone. I want to test the market, see how it goes, see if that's
smart.
Yeah. Because what I've offered with this other product, the black and white, is such a classic look. And I've offered for folks to wrap it with a ribbon. You change the look, or you can add a big bow. And the revenue streams are numerous. But that's another lesson on how to hone in and focus, because diluted focus is diluted results. I got that from Rory Vaden.
Listen, I love that quote.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a reel right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I can already see myself cutting that out.
Here's another nugget. He also says, you're best qualified to help the person you once were. And so because that was me, I can see it. So now I'm working on trying to figure out how to encourage people to decorate, have that confidence, and know that whatever their style is, that's them. They could do it.
Absolutely. And do you do some home decor consulting or anything like that?
No, just at my house. I love finding finds, consignment stores. They're
Yeah, I love
always a
that.
fun time. And figuring out how I can adjust it and always looking at things.
Well, you're so focused, which you have to be you've already gone through all of that, but even in the questions that I'm asking that could divert you potentially, you're not diverting at all, which is great. No, I love that. Because it's just saying, no, I know what needs to get out there first. And this is phase one, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then there's other phases to come and that you are hoping and wishing for. And manufacturing wise, I honestly believe it'll happen. You're tenacious.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I'm very excited. And there's some outlets that I think that might be a good launch, but it's baby steps. Everything is supposed to be in its own time. I'm just trying to just keep it going.
Well, if you can get all the basics figured out, and it looks like you're doing that, that's really where you need to begin. And then you made a statement that I hear a lot of entrepreneurs make, and that is learning to listen to the market, listen to people, because they're going to let you know what they want, what they're interested in. So if you have your ear to the ground, then you'll pick up on that, and you can do exactly what you're doing, do a limited design of some sort and a supply of that, and then see how it does. So learn, ever learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. That seemed to be the compromise, is to do a limited run of a color to see how it goes.
Yeah.
How I can see just my mind going, number one, I can see these in weddings.
Yes. So I had hoped that I would be able to get into some wedding venues, and I had hoped so I did the wedding shows last year.
Oh, you did?
But again, I had just been 6 months in, and I'd come off the heels of doing really big Christmas shows, and it's a lot of work. I'm not complaining, but it's a lot to to commit to getting your product out there and sharing and sharing and sharing and just trying to get people to understand what it does, what the value is. They have to value it. And it is a niche market, and I recognize that. So when I found I've presented to a realtors group as well. A lot of the realtors are looking for things that are native to Carolina. And you can have it monogrammed. It does monogram well. I've had it monogrammed before. I've had customers. Customers are amazing. They send me pictures. When I hand over the bag, if I don't send it to them in the mail, I hand over the bag and I'll say, could you just please do me one favor and share pictures with me? I love to post to social. I want to give them credit because they are just as creative.
Absolutely.
So even that real estate market, it just rang a bell because a lot of times they like gifting things to their clients. I know that's happened for us, and I've seen that even across the country, different types of gift. That would be a wonderful gift to give a plant for a home, a new home.
And also, I feel like that, we're just thinking all the ideas, so that would also be something that realtors could sometimes invest in to stage a home.
Yes.
So if they would have that, they wouldn't necessarily have to leave it. Or if the new owners were like, I want that, that can be written in to, part of the deal.
I love it. And I was thinking too, when you have a new homeowner, you could gift them an azalea in that, and then they could have it in their new home. So yeah, absolutely.
Realtors, if you're listening,
I think
South
it's a
23rd.
great idea. Yeah.
This is, and it's so original that it makes you feel very special.
Oh,
so I think that that's also never a bad thing for the consumer to be like, oh, even when you brought it in today, I was like, oh, I don't want to even open it until we're on air. I feel so excited.
Well, I think it'd be neat too. You talk about Christmas is the poinsettias.
They're
so
absolutely
beautiful. I love
stunning.
them, but you always get them with the Christmas red thing around it. It would be nice to have something, as elegant as this to put that in.
So let me just mention that when I share this with customers at Christmas time, I just show them how to trim the top so it still captures the water in the bottom. Yeah. Because this has a hole in the bottom. So keep that in mind. Right. But I have had customers share with me different things that they do. One took the smallest Porch Pop and placed her ice bucket in it and put it on her island with a big bow around it. I mean, the creativity has just been enormous. And somebody said, my children's toys, my dog's toys, you could put magazines, blankets. Absolutely. Wow. It's just different enough. It's a different spin, right?
It is a different spin. And I feel like your price point is very affordable from, everything that I see. I think that the quality of that.
Have you looked at pots? Buying pots?
Have you looked at
nice
how much
quality
plants cost?
Yes, I know. And then they come with that black, ugly looking plastic thing, and then you go and try to buy a pot for that, and I'm like, oh my soul.
Yeah.
And then you have to store it.
Yeah, and they're heavy and all. Yes, so much different. So I see a lot of benefits with that.
So I did try to keep that in mind. If I wanted to make it a comparable price point. So it wasn't really an argument about that part. I wanted people to feel like they could have an option, and the price really helped.
Yeah. So as far as this would be a great time to just say, you should start thinking about this for your gifting season, and you should do pre-orders now, so it will give Susan time to get all those things in and figure out inventory and things like that. But give us your website.
So it's south23rd.com, and we're in the process of getting our version 2.
It's okay if you need water. I'll just...
Excuse me. Goodness.
No, fine.
We're in version 2 of this website, so I'm very excited. It should be released within the next few weeks. Fingers crossed. And I think that when that comes out, it'll be a different story. Right now, the website is great, but I think this new website will have lots of really great pictures that I didn't have when I started out. So
That's true.
just had to make some changes.
So have you gotten some help with that too, as an entrepreneur, just talking with people, trying to help with that?
Yes, yes. So when I first started out, I found a branding group in Greensboro, Bolton Creative, and they were fabulous. Beth Bolton was completely an advocate for me. She absolutely was there to guide me. Maybe you didn't think about this or that. Think about this. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was telling a story earlier today about how I came up with our name, South 23rd. So the first name that I LLC'd was on the Porch Designs. And I don't remember what was going on, but I met this man and he goes, "Oh, I looked you up. I saw you on Facebook." Well, I wasn't doing socials at that point. And I said, "Oh, goodness." So I did a little sleuthing and found out that there was another identity online that was on the Porch Designs. So when I brought this back to my branding group, they said, "That's problematic. We can't do that.
Sure.
You got to do something different." So then I had to come up with a name. And just like naming anything, it's very tricky.
It is tricky.
It's tricky. But Beth was able to guide me, and she said, "Think about this, Susan. You don't need to tell what your product does in your name." And that was really hard for me to wrap my hands around, honestly. So she explained it this way. Target is called Target, but it doesn't sell targets. It's Target. I was like, okay. So we brainstormed, my family and I, and we came up with South 23rd because Dave and I bought our first house at the beginning of our marriage. We'll be married 31 years in October. And it was 409, thank you, 409 South 23rd Street, Richmond, Indiana. So South 23rd is where it came from.
Well, I'm glad you answered that because that was my next question.
Oh, sorry.
Where'd you come with? No, that's great. That was great. So, yeah, cool.
I mean, it's absolutely perfect,
And the logo looks
the
wonderful.
logo does look
Thanks,
great.
thanks.
You
So
like that.
They were listening to me. I had a vision in my head. I was like, "What do you think about a topiary?" And I really love pink, and they came up with that.
I really love it.
Yeah,
I will
that's
tell you, one of the biggest challenges I have in my head, and as an entrepreneur, you might be able to just speak to this, but I'm not 20 something, and I feel young and I'm excited and I've got all the energy, but I recognize in this class that I'm in with the Velocity, with the Center for Creative Economy, there's a lot of younger crowd in there, entrepreneuring, if that's a word, being an entrepreneur and doing their business. And I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm just getting started. So Leanne Morgan had a competition, and she partnered with Vanity Fair, and it was called Just Getting Started. And it was for these ladies that were starting their business. And I won. I didn't win the grand prize, but I won one of the top 10 first place winners.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very exciting. But I won product. But I was looking for money.
Obviously.
But that was okay. I loved the opportunity.
Well, I don't believe anymore. I think that, there was a time in the not so distant past that, if a woman hit 40, that was it. We couldn't be creative anymore or do more with. And there's so many more stories now that it's just a number.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're using your mind, your creativity, and you're going forward towards something, you're still, what are you supposed to do? Just say, "Oh, I'm 50. I'm done.
I'm done." No,
I'm finished.
I have a lot to do. And it's like I'm starting all over,
It
though.
is, but you're starting over in a way that has so much wisdom attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
So the young people that are in the young entrepreneurs and the creatives business or groups that you're talking about, they have great ideas, but they don't know with experiential knowledge the ups and downs that come with life. They don't know what it maybe takes to persevere yet. Not saying they won't do it, but you are at an advantage, in my opinion, in that particular situation. So, I say go for it. who cares?
Thank you.
Age is
Yeah,
just a
I think it's
number.
the willingness to keep learning. I'm in my mid 60s, so
Lamar.
yes. So, but understand that. But I think it's a willingness to listen to um, young people. I don't really want to separate it all out. I mean, there's things to be gained across the board. And I know that with
Absolutely.
with our kids, our children. I mean, my oldest is in his 40s, and the youngest is 19. There's a lot to be learned from them. Just having those conversations, getting their input, and I think a lot of the other things too is social media. Is learning how to navigate that, and like sometimes I look at myself and like, good night. Um, but hey, I'm going to get in. I'm going to learn about TikTok, and I'm going to learn about um, Instagram and Facebook and things of that nature because they're very helpful
Have they been
all of
helpful for
this.
you?
Oh, absolutely. That was the next thing I hired was someone who could do social media and teach me. So I hired her for 3 months, and then she kind of phased out. She came, if I had a fire, she would help me. But I learned, and you're absolutely right. It just you need to tap into those resources of hearing the youth and hearing their ideas. That's one of the things I am loving about this Velocity program is that they are able to share their thoughts. They are educating me on things that are coming in that I may have missed. But absolutely, the social media is making a big difference. It was funny. Today, I did a live on Instagram, and then I lost it. I don't know where it went. And then I realized that my mic was not on. So if anyone did hear it, they were not hearing it. And then, so I had to do another one. So we'll see.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're
Take
just
3.
learning.
Forever learning, but it's all changing too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's constantly changing. So it's sometimes can be a challenge to keep up with all of the changes.
Just don't even look at me. I don't. I'm not. I need to take your classes.
Well,
I
you
need
much
to have,
younger than I am, so
That's
you still.
that doesn't matter.
I have an excuse, but really I don't.
I admire that you've done that.
Oh,
That's the truth of the matter, and I've said it many times on here where I know, and we are getting better, but where I know I'm the weakest is in that social part of it. Now I'll answer. I can hop on a live, but to be consistent and say, okay, well, today I need to, post this, and this. It's a matter of discipline, honestly, for me. And so I just am having a therapy session right here and admitting all of my
I think
shortcomings.
It still takes a lot of a team effort, oftentimes, in challenging each other, encouraging each other.
And that's
I mean, you
true.
do that. You did that to me already before off camera,
no.
trying to. But that's good. And if I take that in the right spirit and the right heart, then I'm going to learn from that and grow from that. And I think we ought to always be that way. I am really impressed with much older people who have made the decision to learn, can keep learning, even at an older age. And there are plenty of examples of people who have been extremely successful
Yes.
later on in life with things, and I think that's something to be admired. But also, I think it's admirable to see a young person be very successful as well. So, yeah, across the board.
I also think that, sometimes when we see things modeled for us, my dad was a huge entrepreneur. He was always looking to try and see what he could do to make a business. He did have his own business for a while. And so I lost him about 7 years ago, and it was way too soon. But he has been with me. I can feel it. And I mentioned earlier that my business, my office is in our unfinished basement. And I collected all the furniture from all the different estates that have been slowly changing and dissolving. And so I have taken furniture from my children's college days because they're now in new homes themselves, and some old rugs and this and that. But it just was looking a little. So I bought this brass chandelier and had it hung up down there in
Your unfinished basement. That's awesome.
You should have seen our electrician's face. He was, what are we doing with this? I want it hung right there. I mean, I just wanted a piece of style and fun. And so I'm just always adding something interesting and different. But with the God wink I wanted to share with you was one day, now my packing table is an unfinished door, the one that has the hole in it. Yeah, it's on 2 sawhorses. This is the beginning. You guys are seeing the very beginning.
This is awesome.
And I was packing the product on that, and I looked up, and there was my father's birthday. So, and it's nowhere else and it was stamped 3/5, and then it was 2000 something. But
on what? When
it's on a beam. So you know how the wood is stamped with the different dates? That was the only one that was stamped 3/5. And that was his birthday.
That is awesome.
All the other dates were 4/26 or something to that effect. So
I love the phrase God wink.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And sometimes something will happen. I'm like, okay, Dad, I know you're here. You're just kind of guiding me through this.
Well, I think, a lot of that's helpful. I mean, a lot of the things that I can do in my life, I attribute to what my dad made us do growing up. And there's really not anything I'm not willing to try to tackle. And I think that's part of that entrepreneur spirit, but I get that because of my roots. My dad was that way. And so you learn and try to figure things out. So that's how I've been. So I was thinking about whoever designed like the weed eater. Think about that for a moment.
I think that was designed and manufactured in Richmond, Indiana.
Okay, so that's cool because
don't hold me to that, but I want to say that I think it was.
You know why that probably came about? Because somebody probably had a dad, like my dad, who made us along the chain link fence weed eat all of that by hand or with scissors before weed eaters came out. And man, that was the greatest thing.
Yeah. That's such a Louisiana thing to do.
Yeah, like tasseling corn in Indiana.
You had to do it. Yeah.
I didn't do that, but I heard about it.
Yeah, that one of my husband's grandfather, his wife's grandfather, had told, he was just Louisiana through and through, tough guy, loved greatly, but he asked the cousins to mow and do the lawn and whatever. And my husband did what he was supposed to do, but his other cousins did not. And so the grandfather realized that he did not. And he said, he's handed him a pair of scissors and said, go cut the lawn and cut it all with scissors. And they had to. And let me tell you, they never did that.
They never messed up again.
They never did the same thing again. So
that's so funny.
How we learn is a product of how we're raised in a lot of ways.
Right.
But as far-fetched as that might sound to some people, it left a mark, and they sure do what they say. Or, if they say, hey, we're going to do that, they do that now. So I guess it worked.
Well, I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have that kind of heart of spirit to be willing to try. And I mean, that's what you described here, trying to figure things out as you go along. And the people we've had in this place, that's been a very similar thing.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to do. We had to figure it out, and it takes a lot of work and effort. But what that doesn't make you stronger. It makes you better. It makes you more willing for the next challenge to come along to tackle that and make something of it and learn from it.
So don't stop.
No.
Just don't.
I can't. I'm so far into this. I want to know how it ends. I want to see.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure if it's pillows. I would like to see a few more designs, things that you would never see on your front porch. I'd like to see some of those come to light and to production. I'd love to see people really take on and use it a lot more. I'm still studying the market, learning what makes people tick. They decorate their porches in the fall and for Christmas. And I really thought that spring and summer would be really hot thing, but they just don't know about it. So that's when social media is so key and vital for my product. I have to keep showing them ideas. People need ideas.
Yeah, I think to be able to show that.
Yeah, and for you not to be discouraged when something like that, like things are slumping, if you will, you're coming at it from a different angle. And you're right. People do need ideas. We need ideas. We need a fresh, inspirational thing. And if you're willing to do that,
Yeah.
And which one are
just
you using the most? Are you Facebook, Instagram,
I
TikTok,
use
or all of them?
well, I use Instagram and Facebook pretty equal.
Quite a
When I
bit.
post one, I post on the
Yeah.
other.
On the other,
I've
yeah.
started posting. I have a YouTube channel.
Good.
I love to watch you guys on that. And so
Aw.
that's where I watch my legacy podcast. And I also have a Pinterest account. So
Yeah,
I,
Pinterest would be good.
I have a few
look at
followers
that
on
quite
that.
A bit. We don't utilize that.
What
I don't know how that
is-
would work.
yeah. So tell us your YouTube channel name.
so it's South 23rd.
Okay.
All of them are South 23rd. So it's at South 23rd for Instagram. Facebook is South 23rd. It's nothing too crazy. I was really fortunate. Not like that on the Porch Designs.
Right.
So there was something that was really good about this. I'm telling you, all the things have just fallen right into place. I just got my trademark on my name. So that's exciting.
Good.
I'm considering trademarking my tagline.
Do it.
So it's called Taking Your Outdoor Space from Ordinary to Extraordinary.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do
So
it.
we
I
just
mean,
did-
it's not that hard to trademark.
Well, I got a guy.
You've
so-
got a guy.
You got to go.
Yes, it's the same team that helped me with my patent. And my patent, it could take 2 to 3 years to get that. But really,
and how
it was
challenging is that?
about. I got a guy.
You got
So
to
I find value, as you probably do too. When you have somebody who knows that area, that space, in my mind, I'd much rather invest in them and their knowledge to be able to take care of that.
Yep.
So that's what I ended up doing. They were able to research it, and it could take 2 to 3 years.
When did you start the process?
Last October.
So, hey, we're almost a year in.
Yes, yes. So the thing is, it gave me street cred. So that just kind of, when you say this is a new product, people are thinking, oh, it's a new product. But when you say it's patent pending, then people think, oh, it really is new, because most ideas have been thought of. Why hasn't someone thought of it? That's been some of the questions you're trying to figure out.
They were waiting for Susan. That's why.
It's coming.
It's coming. Well, I just want to say thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
joining us today. And it's been a wonderful conversation. I feel like we've gotten into some things that we've never been able to get into with another guest, patents and manufacturing and different things like that I feel like are of value to our listeners and our viewers for sure. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for
Yeah, and
having
we got a
me.
gift.
I know, and we got a gift.
And
And
I've got a gift.
y'all go out
Yay.
and buy this. This is go to her website,
Porch Pop.
Porch Pop.
Yes,
This
because
is
it
the-
makes your porch pop.
Yeah, South 23rd.
And
South 23rd.
her Pinterest, her YouTube. Look for the new drops on Facebook and Instagram because she is working it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And so, along with that, please follow Legacy Podcast Studio on all of the major things: Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe. That helps us to be able to continue to do what we're doing here.
You're getting good at that.
I know. It does help us.
Yes, it
And
does.
we want your feedback as well. So if there's something that we haven't talked about that you want to hear about, just drop us a message. If there's some guest that you think that we need to have on, also refer. That's how Susan got here today, is a friend that I met at a conference referred her, and I think that is just amazing. So through our website, through our socials, we see it and we will answer. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you
Next time.
next time. Bye.